eating some nuts. What do you think about that? Yeah, I like nuts in my mouth. What's it to you? All right, peeps. Last part of this video was me going over unboxing everything. So we had the airlift, we had the Viair compressors, airlift 3P3H, we had the tank, and then we had the suspension. So if you don't know, and this is not a plug, but it's a plug because I like the guys over there, you can get all that stuff from Universal. You don't have to buy airlift from this place and Viair from this place, or from Bag Riders or whatever, and then get suspension from Universal. They have all that, pretty much everything you need. Literally, they have everything you need. And they make custom stuff for you. So I like the guys over there. They're close to me. It's easy because they're only about a 25-minute drive or so. Compared to most of you people watching this, you probably don't even know. But if you need it, they have it, or they can get it, pretty much. If you saw my last video on my wife's Model 3, you kind of go through the whole install process of it. I'm gonna go through it a little bit again this time, but you can kind of see on that last video what it takes to install it. This one is gonna be a little bit more about the frunk stuff, just, I don't know, random shit. If you want to see something that's cool or not cool, or find some random stuff that a lot of people skip over. I try not to skip over things because I'm not trying to hide anything. There's a bunch of work that's involved in doing a custom frunk or trunk setup. People don't realize all the small details matter, to me anyways, and to most of my customers. That's why they come back to me. We've got the acrylic stands here. Those all have to be sanded down and frosted because we want the light to be diffused underneath them. We've got polyfill. So this is going to be like a cloud type thing. People do it on the ceilings in their bedrooms, and we are going to try and put that into the frunk system along with these lights that we found. We picked these lights out because they are clear, so you won't see underneath all this stuff or in between it. I have the wiring for the tank, for the glow tank section of it. We are going to be using both of the water traps. I've got a lot of different fittings that are all over the place. So all these fittings, can you see that? All these fittings, all these are going to be going in this car. So just that alone, just in fittings alone, I'm at like 150, 200 bucks, I think, close to that in fittings. We are going to be doing bulkheads. So I got these bulkhead fittings, and those will all go through there. How to get different hardware to mount these. So we're going to use the OEM hardware from Viair down below there, but the regular hardware is too short for this mount. So you see it doesn't even come out of there. So got new hardware for that. I have some really kind of crazy cool fabric that we're going to be using. The acrylic stands we've got for the management. We've got some Lighting Trends LED lights, and a whole bunch more lights going on. I'm going to be doing, this is a crazy big ass valve, the only one I could get in a short time period, but this is going to be for the bottom. So this is a controller unit for all your lights and stuff. You can put on different types of buttons. It comes with a bracket, it comes with double-sided tape, but what's really badass about this is all right, so it comes with this. This is for this switch panel. So this is a massive fuse box. It comes with 6 different fuses. Let me see here. 6 different fuses set up in here. And then you just put your wires in to each one of those, to each one of your setups. That goes to your battery, to an ignition, and then that goes to the little control panel that I just showed you. So you have a 30 amp. This is perfect for like underglow, 20s, 10s, 5s, all the way down there. And so we're going to be using that for all the front lighting. So this right here plugs up to this. It does have an extension wire. Okay, so finally getting some work done here. The rear suspension is all done. I still have to do the height sensor brackets and height sensors themselves. but airlines are done. Sensor wiring is done. Upper control arm, or camber arm, sorry, upper camber arm from Mountain Pass Performance is done, and the bags and shocks are in. So here is, there we go. So there it is, your Mountain Pass Performance upper camber arm. Very easy to install. Yeah, just 2 bolts. Comes already the exact same length as the OEM suspension arm is. So I double checked that and it's ready to go. This is our shock, our adjustment up top for the dampening and coilover part of it, and our airbag back there with the air line already connected. So let's see. Now, airline comes from right there. You see that? So there is a pocket that goes all the way down both sides of the rockers here. It's actually where all the coolant for the battery and motors and all that stuff is. Those are coolant lines right there. How I know that is because I've punctured it before on an underglow install. Yes, shit happens. That was a nice $1,000 to fix. Anyways, so airlines go through there, and same with the electrical comes up back behind here. So this one will be tucked away back up inside there because that is your sensor wire. But my airline runs all the way back upward over the cross member, down back behind here, and right there. And it goes in. So I'm going to zip tie it up. I don't want it rubbing on the edge of that, if you can see that. I want it to come right through the center. But I'm gonna zip tie that up out of the way a little bit. Other side is already done. Bags in place, and it's super tight. So that's great. Has the lock nut down here with our, has our lock nut down here with the plate, so everything is locked in place. Only thing I don't like about the rear bag setup is really this right here. Why isn't an extra, I mean, I can understand if you have an extra 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch out of there, 3/4 inch. This is definitely 1.5 inches extra. So, I mean, of course I've bent that plate up into there, so it, because it's pretty easily bent, but even if it was only this long, it'd be doable. As it is, I have to cut it off so we can put our OEM plastic covers back on, because most people like those back on there. So I'm gonna trim that off probably to right about there so that those can be put back on. Okay, so rear suspension done. Frunk is ready, waiting on LED strips. Now we're to the front. Airline's already done up in the frunk, so they're ready to be connected. Remember our little valve setup here? So our valves are set up. This is one rear, and that's the other rear. Those will be tied up once I get the front ones done. But I've already got my airlines coming right there over into the frunk section, and they're taped up. See that? Yeah. Right there. Yeah. Anyway, so those are ready to go in. So really, all the electrical is done, and 98% of the airlines are done. Just got to put this front suspension in. Probably going to take me about 45 minutes max, because it's pretty easy to take in and out. And then finish the airlines part of it. And then it's just sensors. Sensors are kind of a pain in the ass, but luckily Universal Air has the brackets that are easy to mount, and then you just have to measure and you're good to go. So these are the brackets. They are all powder coated, already comes with hardware to mount your sensors to. You just need some hardware to mount them to the car, and I will show you those when I install them. But pretty easy. It takes all the guesswork out of it, really. So I'm almost done with getting the front suspension out, but a quick informational note here. So on the newer Tesla Model 3 and Y, the upper wheelhouse area has been drilled out bigger. So these 3 holes used to be a lot smaller on the older generation cars, and you used to have to take out the entire upper mount, which would be bolts there, back there, and the whole upper mount would have to come out. The upper control arm mount, so you can see all that part up there, would have to come out so that you could get to the top bolts. I never did that because ingenuity. I used to Dremel out the hole big enough that I could get that nut out, and then no big deal. You take the nut in and out, and then you don't have to remove that upper control arm at all. The newer ones have this, that it's already drilled out for you big enough to put a 13mm socket in there. So on the older generations, just Dremel it out. You're not going to hurt anything by doing that, other than bare metal at that point, but way easier, way easier. Even Mountain Pass Performance, when they first came out, and I was putting in their coilovers and springs on the front of these things, it even said to do that. I'm pretty dang sure. And if not, I just figured it out. I don't remember how it, but no reason to take out the upper control arm, especially on the newer cars. Older ones, you can if you want to, and you don't want to Dremel it out, but super easy. And like that, the front suspension is done, other than the airlines. So everything's done here. I took a little extra time though, and I've never really done it before, is the upper control arm, its stopping point is here and here, and here and here. So I did a little grinding to get as much as I could out of there, just a little bit on here, not too much, nothing that's gonna hurt the actual support of the part itself, just a little bit, and then a bunch up on top here. And so that this could go as far as physically possible up to the top. Now with her wheel and tire situation, they're pretty big overall, and I doubt that that's going to make any difference on her car right now. I do want to check though. I'm going to try and make this go as low as possible, of course, but more than likely the tire is going to bottom out right here in the wheelhouse. Now if you have a smaller wheel and tire situation, you know, a stretch tire and all that, this would be optimal to do that with, and get just a little bit more, especially on the Model Y. The Model 3, my wife's car is on the ground. It's almost hard to get into it so low. But with this one, Model Y, it still, you know, sits about that far off the ground over here. So we'll see if that makes any difference. Now the only new thing is, with Universal Air, is that they have a 90-degree AN fitting to their AN line to their fitting section over here. So right now, I don't necessarily, I've just got that sitting on a stud, but crap. Well, now I can't get it off. Son of a bitch. Anyways, so they changed this from a straight down airline, then they went to a 45, and now they're at a 90. I'd rather a 45 or a straight down, but as you can see, there's not enough clearance for the straight down portion of it. If anything, I would think that that thread should be at a 45, or even like a 20, 30 degree, something like that, so then you can have a straight down line. Because right now, if it's going like this, that means you need all this room for this airline to go up and down. Like this is the bottom point, and it needs to travel up to here, right? So now you need all that room for this to be able to move back and forth. And you all, at the same time, you needed to be out of the way of a tire. So if the tire's over here, turning inwards, you don't want this to be up because this doesn't turn with this. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about that. Say put it in the front, but then if you have your height sensor goes right here. So it connects to this upper control arm mount right there. And then the bracket will bolt into here, and so its go is straight here. So you can't really have the airline go this direction. So I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do. Right now, that's something I really dislike right now. But we'll see, maybe it turns out and makes it better. But I'm gonna have to get the fender liner back in here, get the sensor bracket put up there with the sensor just partly in, and see what I can do. So what I'm gonna do now is the sensors. So our height sensor brackets are gonna be going here, and they mount up to right here. You see that little hole? That's the front one. And in the rear, the plate mounts right here, these two bolts, and then it's gonna be mounting to this specific set. So now that I've gotten this brand new, these, my energy drink of choice lately, those Mountain Pass Performance coils came with this, or the camber arms came with this. Not really sure exactly what they're asking to do with this. But I'm guessing it is to replace on the OEM one. There is a small bracket there. It is right here on the OEM setup. Not sure what that little bracket is for from the OEM part, but I'm going to be using this bracket down here. I'm thinking this bolt is longer for that reason. And if this works on this side, then I'm going to duplicate it on the other side. What I've done in the past is actually use a T bracket, bolt this one and this one together, a T, and then it comes off as a bend. But the problem there is when you have to adjust this, then you're expanding or contracting this, and the holes would have to be slotted, bigger or smaller. That's something I could definitely do as well, but I'm going to try this right here. This bracket's pretty meaty, so it's not going to bend either. Okay, these are the Universal Air height sensor brackets. So they are thick steel, they're powder coated already. I believe they fit the AccuAir height sensors. I have not used these with the AccuAir, but I imagine they are the same as the Airlift sensors. So they come with hardware already, so you can mount your sensors to it, just like that, and you're good to go. So now these are the fronts and these are the rears. The rears would be mounted, this would be, I believe like that. Yeah, this would be like this for the left rear and right rear, like that. And the fronts, I believe, I can't remember now that I'm doing this. I mean, you could do it multiple ways, depending on where you wanted to set up at, but you use the original hole right here for the fender liner, and I'll probably, some people will just put a clip in that one from the original clip, and then this one will drill through and put a rib nut into it. So it can be bolted up top and then just has a clip down below. And I can't remember if it's like that or like that. Let's see. It's definitely not upside down because that would mean it's too close to this. We're going to be going straight down. Now that you can't see, we're going to be going straight down from here with our bracket, our extension arm, with our arm here. So if you're we're going to be like that. So it does have a little bit of an angle to it. We can bend this if we want to just a little bit, but I'm going to put that on there and get that lined up and drill it out. All right, so that is the driver's side installed. So you can see here, I've slid it all the way down, being even on each side. It bolts in, and we have the original clip right there. And then I've got a riv nut drilled into the frame there and then bolted in tight. So that whole bracket is not going anywhere. I've got it lined up evenly with the top here so that when our rod is attached, it's good. Now it's probably going to be going on the second one if I remember correctly. But also I have the sensor already lined up, so you have to make sure that this little point is in the directly center of your plug at mid-level rise, if that makes sense. But yeah, so because this is mid, there we go, your max and your minimum. That's what it looks like. Always make your plug face down if possible, so that water doesn't get inside the plug whatsoever. Even though the plug is supposed to be a watertight plug, you never know. All right, so I've got the brackets in there, the wiring harness is connected and ran up there and tied up nicely. So all the extra line is out of the way. And then I've already started putting the fender liner in here somewhere. All right. So what I did was cut off a little bit of the fender liner right here where it normally does clip in. It won't need to be clipped there. Nothing's gonna be flapping around. It's got plenty of clips elsewhere and it's kind of pressured in there anyways. But I wanted to make sure that this is got free roam here, not pinched anywhere. Also, it comes up as a loop and not just pulled sideways and tight. So that's the first part of it. You can see that. And now I'm gonna finish clipping. I'm actually not gonna clip the fender liner in. I'm gonna wait until I get the airline set up. So for the airline, mother effing, think I'm going to mount this right here. So as long as it's out of the way of the tie rod end, because in that way, if that's mounted up there, this light is really not doing well for me here. So if this is mounted up over here, then this, if I get it tied up over there, as long as it's going up and down and staying tight over here, that's what I want. I want it to be going up and down over here. I don't want it to be rubbing on the plastic, but I want it to be out of the way of your tire that's curving over here. Your tire is going to get to about over here at least. That's why this is notched out for your tire, right? So I want to make sure it's at least close to that area out of the way. All right, finally we are cruising right along, pun intended. Just kidding. So this side is done. We are completely done. Airlines, everything over here. Only thing I have left to do is actually make the extension here and then lock this into place. Hopefully it's at the right height of where I want it to be at. Otherwise that would suck. But drilled through here, did some self-tapping bolts in there. Those are totally fine. It's just holding an airline on, but at least it's mounted on there tight. Airline is actually, have this setting behind here because I cut this off. I didn't want just an extra flapping, so it's being locked in behind this right here, not touching the actual fitting at all, just behind there. Then my airline is ran behind here and goes up inside to the shutoff valves. So shutoff valves are all done and we're good to go there. I already ran my airline, as you can see, over to the passenger side. Over here, the airline, it can't, once this is locked in, it can't go any farther than that. So that means that the tire should be totally clear and it's going to be going back and forth. That's it at maximum. And of course, tons of leverage for it to be going up and down. So this side is complete. On the rear, I've already got this one set up in there as well, at least on the driver's side rear. So this is where it mounts into. Bracket is great. Only thing I don't like about the bracket is it doesn't come with any hardware. So if you're doing this DIY, you need to go get 2 nuts and bolts. And they should be probably at least a 6mm bolt or a 5mm bolt minimum. You do need to drill this out though. The one is a hole back there, but this one is a square hole, not a round hole. And I would make it a little bit bigger anyways, make a round hole. I'll show you that on the other side. You can see that I've got the arm is in the same angle as the upper camber arm is because that's where we're going to be mounting it to. So also when you mount this on there, make sure you slide that all the way back because there is adjustability so that you can put the clip in. Let's see. You can't really, yeah, you're not gonna be able to see that, but you can at least see the wire right there. Make sure the wire has a droop in it so that the wire comes down like that so the water doesn't like just run into it, so that water runs away from it. So I've just got a zip tied up here, but it has a droop there just for that reason. So now I need to get this set up from here to there and go with it. I'm going to show you the other side real quick so you know what you have to drill out. All right, so I don't know if you can see the, yeah, there you go. So that side, the first one right here is square and the back one is round. So the back one is pretty close to 6mm bolt, I believe already. I do one step bigger just so I can adjust it a little bit. But this front one is a square hole and you need to drill that one out. So, and then also, as you can see, our bracket is on the other side. Our bolt section is on the other side. So it's gonna have to be mounted below and then extend over to it. So this one will have to be a completely different side, a different bracket. All right, I'm not gonna show you the front yet, but this is where we're at, aired out. And I'm just testing it before I do actual height sensor part of it. But I wanted to make sure that everything was functioning. So far we don't have any leaks and stuff like that. I wanted to see how low we were getting. So on the actual pressure rating at about 30 PSI in the rear, it's not moving anymore, meaning I can raise the shock up a little bit. And in the front, we're pretty far out. It's about 55 PSI before it, when it doesn't move anywhere. So that could be the tires stopping it. It could be the upper control arms. So that's what I wanted to check. So on the side, I don't know if you can see this, but we are smashing out those side skirts. So it is low as possible you can go on the side skirt. The front, we still have, let's see, you can see that we still have more to go, but it is stopping and not going any further. That is as far as it's going. So for two reasons, it could be the tire, which I can't tell yet. But right here where I trimmed everything out, you can see we're almost touching all the way around there. It actually kind of is just about touching, yep, it is touching right there. The corners aren't touching, and that means it's probably hitting on the actual upper strut mount up underneath the part that we ground out a little bit. Tire wise, it's kind of hard to tell if we are hitting. I don't think so. I don't think the tire is hitting, to be honest with you, because I can put my hand underneath the fender liner. So it's really just the strut upper control arm mount. So yeah, the upper mount, upper control arm mount is what's hitting, so it won't allow it to come up any farther. And I mean, you can tell our ball joint is super maxed right now. It's probably might just be hitting. No, not hitting, but that ball joint is probably maxing itself out. So I don't have any way to measure the angle of it right now, but that ball joint's probably as far up as it's going to go anyways. So that's as far as we can go with it. So what I may do is actually raise the strut up. What that will do is give you a higher ride height or a higher overall height, but also your ride height in the center would be more comfortable. And it's because it's got 55 PSI before it, as it's still in the bags. So meaning it can move more. So I'm probably gonna do that. It takes a lot more time. It's gonna have to undo a whole bunch of stuff in the airlines and all that, but I'm gonna raise it up probably at least a ½ inch in the front. I'll probably just do a ½ inch all the way around, and that'll help everything overall. So give you a little better ride height, more centered of your max and bottom. So yeah, I got to do that, and then we'll do the sensors, and then the little plate and some wrapping. Hopefully I can finish this up today. Hopefully. I'm so close.